What's up, Amazon sellers? If you are thinking about starting to sell on Amazon, doing online arbitrage in 2021, and you are worried or concerned about what products maybe you should avoid, then this is a video for you. I'm going to go through everything that I'm going to be avoiding when I start selling in Amazon USA 2021 next year. So stay tuned. If you don't know who I am, my name is Thomas Parkinson and I have been selling on Amazon for about 4 years now. And I'm on a mission to do £1 million over the next 18 months. I'll drop a link up there. In addition to that, I'm also going to start selling in Amazon USA in 2021. So this video is very well timed and obviously for me to share. So quite simply today, what are the things that I'm going to go through with you in this video about what products to avoid? Let's list them out now and then jump straight into that content. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm going to be doing into Amazon USA. And hey, if you're just starting out, it's going to be useful for you as well. Number two, I'm going to talk about what types of products I'm going to avoid, and I'll list them all out and why. And there's quite a few things you want to really consider. Number three, I'll talk about brands that you want to be careful of, and particularly around intellectual property complaints that have the risk of shutting your account down. And then number four, got to learn to count. I am going to share with you what FastTrack FBA users have said in our Facebook group about other things to avoid that, hey, maybe I missed when I thought about this video, but hey, other things for you to think about too. So let's jump into it now. So why am I doing this video? I've been selling on Amazon for 4 years, I hear you say. Well, quite simply, I said it earlier on, I am looking at starting into Amazon USA next year, and I'm going to be doing the online arbitrage business model. Quite simply, I'm going to be doing it remote, so I'm going to be needing a prep center, and I'm going to have to really think about what products I want to avoid and be careful about. This isn't me using my UK account and transferring across, this is starting from afresh. Now that means I've got to be thinking about ungating, worry about certain products that I want to miss out on or not source, and then also as well look at the brands I need to be careful of, because hey, the USA market is different to the UK market, and I'm going to have a brand new selling account, not one with lots of years of experience. So this video for me is about sharing part of that journey, but also as well sharing some top tips with you. Okay, so now what I want to do is go through quite simply the types of products you probably want to avoid when you are starting out on Amazon or thinking about selling on Amazon. Okay, so first things first, I will talk about pandemic products, or should we say corona-related products. Now you might be asking why. Well, quite simply, there was a whole thing that went on. Obviously, COVID has affected the entire world. And when it first happened, there were a lot of people making some very insane amounts of money. We're talking about prices of masks going up 10 times, 20 times their normal price. And as a result, people made a lot of money, but also as well, it got a bad reputation for Amazon on their marketplace, because obviously customers are having to pay a lot of money for something they probably normally shouldn't. What happened? Amazon quite simply shut that down. They introduced new rules and regulations around selling COVID-related products, and that's something you need to be really careful of. So things like hand sanitizers, face masks, be really, really mindful of these types of products. Amazon are super strict on it. Why? Because they care about the customer experience and they want the customer to have a great experience. And if you're selling those products, they're going to be watching you like a hawk. That's if you can even sell them. A lot of them now, they don't even let you sell because of the risk. Okay, so the next one I'll talk about is big items. And we're talking large items in FBA. Now, I mentioned it earlier, I'm going to be doing online arbitrage using the FBA business model. Now, quite simply, I'll be using a prep center, so I won't actually physically see the goods that I'm going to be buying and reselling. I'm going to have to look at the images, look at the data. Now, quite simply, and I've done this before, it's very easy to buy something you think is small. It's actually not. If I give you an example, we found a great deal, my team did, and I said, great, cool, not a problem. Well, I didn't, they just bought it and we carried on. And then one day my warehouse gave me a call and they showed me this picture here of basically what was goalposts that were being delivered. We were going to get them shipped into FBA. And I was like, I think they're a little bit big. So quite simply, anything that you're sourcing, be very mindful of the size. And a good rule of thumb is try and keep it outside of oversized. So oversized in the US is anything over 18 inches on one side and generally about 20 pounds. Under that, pretty much fine for FBA. Over that, can still do FBA, but obviously there are increased costs. Just be mindful it's going to have an impact on profitability. So I'm going to be really careful about watching out for big items and I don't want any more goalposts being shipped into my prep center and obviously trying to sell on Amazon, because you know what, there's just no profit in that at all. We actually got that shipped from Germany. That was crazy. Now, if you're thinking about FBM or FBA, different ways of doing it, and hey, maybe you're looking at doing bigger items, you find a business opportunity out there, then do look at this video here, which I've done about FBA versus FBM. It's just going to help you understand the difference between the two and when one is better than the other. And there is no right or wrong answer. So watch that video. Okay, so the next one I'll talk about high value items. Now this could be anything like an iPhone, even a Rolex watch. I don't know why you'd want to resell that. Hey, it's good money, not a problem. But quite simply, it could be a couple of $1,000s, or it could even just be $50. But what you need to be aware of is that Amazon, while it has an official returns policy of about 30 days, what it actually does is, if we've seen that go on much, much longer, and this could be anything up to 1 year, even 2 years, we've seen Amazon accept returns from customers, which is like an absolute nightmare. Not only that, just due to the nature of the way that you're selling, shipping it out to the customer, the customer can actually switch the product out for something else. Maybe you ship out a nice new clothing item, and then all of a sudden they change it out for a really old clothing item, and you get back something which obviously you didn't even ship in the first place. So you have to be prepared to take a loss and completely write off a product. And if you are selling nothing but high value items, then obviously when something goes wrong, and hey, returns happen to all of us, it's just a part and parcel of doing business, it's going to have a real impact. So high value items, be very, very careful about. If you are thinking of doing them, just make sure there's huge margins in them. But for me, I'm going to stay quite clear of them and just make sure that I can absorb any losses as part of my business that won't really impact me, because I'm not selling purely high value items like iPhones or Rolex watches. Now, the other one I'll talk about, kind of around high value items, that's slightly different, is around high priced items. Now, a high priced item could even just be a product which is $20 normally, and I want to sell it for $30, $40. Now, quite simply, why am I saying this? There is a thing called Amazon's fair market pricing policy. Now, this is quite simply because of the whole COVID, the whole issue around price raising around COVID related products. They brought it out and they enforced it quite heavily, whereby they saw certain sellers were charging excessive prices. Now, what we have seen is that sellers since then have been warned by Amazon themselves for price gouging on other non-COVID related products. And in addition to this, they've actually been selling cheaper than Amazon themselves and had a warning. So just be very mindful. Top tip for you is, whenever you're looking at a product, have a look at that keeper chart, have a look at the historic pricing, ask yourself, is my price within that, or should I say near that? If it's historically been selling for $20 and today you want to sell it for $50, I'd probably say that's maybe a bit expensive. It might still sell, but it might be questionable. So ideally you want to keep it at the normal market rate. And a good example is looking for what's known as a suppressed buy box. And I'll drop a picture up around here of an image of a suppressed buy box, so you can see what they look like. Now, it's not to say that you're going to get a price gouging warning whenever you sell something with a suppressed buy box. No, but it's just to say it is getting closer to that higher price, because Amazon thinks the price is so high that it's not willing to give you the buy box. So keep an eye out for that. Be very mindful of checking that keeper graph. And I'd really recommend just looking at the history of the product. And hey, if you want to know, check out my free keeper training up here. That's going to help you understand what you need to look at when reviewing those keeper graphs. Okay, so the next one I will talk about is very much around hazardous products. Now, quite simply, what is a hazardous product? Well, quite simply, as it says on the tin, it's a product which is potentially hazardous either to Amazon fulfillment or Amazon storage, or even to people. You've got to be careful about it. Now, if I give you an example, a couple of things might be like batteries. They can have problems with them. Bleach, for example, I know is a hazardous product. Things like aftershaves and perfumes, they are flammable, so they're hazardous. And obviously explosives, anything like firearms, obviously they're very hazardous. So quite simply, I'm going to be avoiding these products. And there are things, should we say, which are called like the Amazon FBA Dangerous Goods Program. There's so many opportunities that you can do for hazardous selling. But quite simply, there's just another layer of complexity. You've got to ship to Amazon using hazardous approved carriers in a certain way. You're reducing down the amount you can put in a box and ship to Amazon. So you can get around them and sell hazardous products. But for me, I like to keep my business simple. I like to open up the opportunities I'm selling to. And there are enough opportunities out there right now to sell on Amazon not using hazardous products. So quite simply, I'm going to be skipping hazardous products. I'm not going to be looking at them, and I'm just going to sell normal products and obviously avoiding them. And I will be checking that using a tool like FBA multi-tool that I use that's basically just going to help me understand and do that check every time I'm sourcing to see if a product is hazardous or not. That's pretty much the products that I'm going to be avoiding over 2021 or starting selling in Amazon USA. Okay, so the next thing I'm thinking about are the brands I'm going to be avoiding. We talked about products, but brands are going to be really important. Why? Because quite simply, if you sell a brand who's very protective of the brand, or maybe they've got selective distribution rights with an approved distributor or an approved seller, and quite simply what they can do is they can go to Amazon and say, hey, this seller, Tom, isn't allowed to sell my product. Can you please let them know? And they will log what's known as an intellectual property warning against your account. Now, as a new seller, that is quite a worry. You could probably get one, maybe two of these, and it's going to start causing real hassle with your account. When you're a bigger seller doing bigger volumes, it's not such a big issue, but you still have to be very, very mindful of them. There are literally maybe 100, if not over 100, hundreds of brands that you want to be careful of. How can you check and obviously make sure that you are not selling the ones that you shouldn't be selling? Well, quite simply, I'll drop a link down below to a web page or a website, FastTrack FBA, and it's our IP checker, our brand checker. What is this? This is basically when we go sourcing, we check all the brands across all the lists that we know of. And if we find any brands that we haven't known about, maybe that now have alerts or people tell us in the groups, then we'll add it to our list. So you can see a live, updated list of all the brands that we do not source deals for in the FastTrack FBA lead service. Now, quite simply, these are online arbitrage leads that you can buy and resell on Amazon. And what we do is we automatically filter them through this brand list, links down below, just to make sure that all the deals that we submit are not from these brands, obviously help protecting you and your account, and obviously making sure that you're safe to sell on Amazon. Really, really important, and I cannot stress that enough. So one question you might ask is, hey, what if I do get an intellectual property complaint? Well, I've received, I think, 2, 3. They do go away after about 180 days on your account, but the only way you can get them removed before that is to have the person who raised the complaint email Amazon and say, I want to retract this. Now, what's really interesting is we've actually heard many stories of manufacturers, brand owners sending that email to Amazon, and still Amazon have not removed it. Don't know why, I don't know the insides of Amazon's, but this thing is taken quite seriously by Amazon, and sometimes they don't remove it even if the original complainer has said, please remove it. So quite simply, just be very mindful of intellectual property complaints and not getting them on your account in the first place, i.e. do not sell those brands which are going to cause that problem. Use the FastTrack FBA brand checker, link down below in the description. We asked all the FastTrack FBA members in FastTrack FBA Facebook group, and I'll drop a link down below. You can join that as well. We're a bunch of Amazon sellers doing arbitrage, and they follow my journey. I talk to them, I share a lot, but also everyone shares what they're doing, the top tips and tricks. Join that group, it's really going to really help you. But I asked them, what should they avoid selling as a new seller on Amazon? And they came back, and I'll read out some of the answers now, which some of the things maybe I missed. So quite simply, clothing and shoes, and I cannot agree more with this. I've sold clothing before, it's a nightmare. And when you're reading the keeper charts, you've really got to know what you're doing, especially on what's known as variation listings. Just becomes a nightmare. Again, that keeper video is going to make a real big difference. So clothing, they talked about that. They talked about face masks, COVID-related products again. Medicines, obviously medicine items you need a license for. And interesting things which are maybe close to medicine, sometimes move into medicine and then move out again. So just be very mindful of that. They've also talked about avoiding things with many sellers, lots of sellers on the listing, and I certainly understand that. There's lots of competition. We talked about earlier, large items, big FBA items, shipping them in. My God, you do not want to be shipping a goalpost like I shipped in. That was a bad idea. Also as well, obviously brand IP alerts, they talked about that as well. And they just said, hey, when there is a big sale on in the supermarkets, and especially around toys, what do a lot of new sellers normally sell? Toys and games. And so when there's a big sale on the supermarkets, they've actually said, just be careful, because if you're buying it, it means everyone else is probably seeing it as well, and they're probably buying it as well. So what might look like a good deal initially, once you've got 200 other sellers on that listing, all of a sudden it's not. So just be very mindful, big sales for toys and games, they can actually be a double-edged sword. So some top tips there from FastTrack FBA users, and hey, anyone who's watching this who filled that out, thank you very much, really appreciate it. But hey, join the group, link down below. Right, what I'll ask is a question for you guys. Are there any top tips? Maybe anything that you're thinking about avoiding, or maybe there's something you're unsure about, should you be selling it or not when you are starting an Amazon? Drop it in the comments below. I'm really interested to understand. And hey, if you ask me any questions, I will get back to you on the I promise. Okay, so that is all from me today. What I'm gonna say is I'll drop a video around here for keeper training, and I'd really recommend looking at that. Things like checking the prices, seeing what historical prices are, this competition on the keeper graph. That keeper video is going to help you. But hopefully you've enjoyed it, give me a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. And for me, Thomas Parkinson and FastTrack FBA, thank you very much.